Then we had number 6 Alabama going on the road at number 16 Missouri. Now this one was huge. Missouri has home games all year. Like they haven't gone on the road yet. And they're hosting Alabama that was very battle tested. Alabama went on the road and beat Georgia. And then they go and they beat Vanderbilt at home. Like Alabama was very impressive coming into this, and Missouri had chances, and especially late. But this one, I mean, Alabama just played really great. And even the score might be a little deceiving because it was like 27-17 for a while in the fourth, and then Missouri got a touchdown late and then was able to get the ball back. Where it's like, oh, like they almost ended up having a chance to tie it, but Alabama looks really scary. And it's going to be really interesting to see what Alabama does this season because they might really shake up things in the SEC. And Bama's kind of one of those teams where like, oh, maybe they're falling off. Oh, they're not what they used to after that loss to Florida State, which does look worse, but they look like a completely different team since that Florida State loss, Jack. This was very impressive.
Very impressive. I mean, the past few weeks, they've beat three great teams in
Mhm.
Vanderbilt, Georgia, and now the Tigers. So I
Right.
think it's very impressive, and they've completely flipped the script since that week one loss. They
Right.
look like one of the best teams in the country, if not like a top five team,
Mhm.
which is very surprising to me because that's not what we anticipated going out of week one.
Right.
So, and they look just amazing on the road, which is not what you could say last year. So, Missouri had
Right.
some bad turnovers. Robla had two picks, and then they had a fake punt that didn't
Mhm.
go anywhere. And they really just, and they made some mistakes too. They missed a field goal,
Mhm.
but Missouri could not capitalize on
Right.
those. And they look great. They could really controlled this game. Missouri had an early touchdown in the first quarter, but they really
Mhm.
couldn't get anything going early in
Mhm.
the game. And late
Right.
in the game, they had a touchdown, but then they had another bad pick late where a
Mhm.
guy was wide open, but he threw it into like triple coverage. Not a great interception
Right.
there. But the big question going into this game is how is Alabama going to be against the
Mhm.
run? Ahmad Hardy, one of the best running backs in the
Mhm.
country, was not a factor really at all in this game. Only 12 carries, 52 yards. So that was really the turning point in this game and really why Missouri really just could not get their offense going. They
Mhm.
their defense, it was really more of a defensive game on Missouri's side because they stopped them at the goal line when Alabama tried to run it with their offensive
Mhm.
linemen again. They've been kind of throwing them in the mix there. It seems like Grubb and the Bower are really trying to like
Mhm.
put in Caden Proctor in there more with like those
Right.
trick plays they're doing, which I like. It makes them fun to watch. So I hope we see more of that. But yeah, Missouri I think is still a great team, but this just shows how great Alabama
Mhm.
is this year. And what I found interesting is Ryan Williams, one of the best receivers, and I think one of the best teams in the country,
Mhm.
did not have a single catch in this game. So it was interesting that Alabama really didn't look for him, and they have just so many weapons besides
Mhm.
him.
Right.
So yeah. And another thing going out of
Mhm.
this game is Jam Miller, one of the best running backs, and he's had a great year so far. He went out with a concussion. DeBoer said he was practicing, so hopefully he can come back because he's definitely been like a leader on that offense. Yeah, we'll see.
Right. And I mean, coming out of that week one, we really didn't think Alabama could be this good, and especially the stretch that they're on, where if you had told us after week one that, like, yeah, that Florida State team is going to lose three straight, and Alabama's wide receiver, Ryan Williams, he's going to have a concussion, and then somehow Alabama is going to end up at number 6 in the country in a few weeks, it'd be like, how is that even possible? It's just like, not only were we not in the game against Florida State, but now Florida State has lost three straight. So then what does that say about us? Well, apparently Alabama is just really good and they really look different. I don't understand what that game was. I think Florida State took the whole offseason. They were a lot more motivated. They wanted it a lot more. But the fact that Florida State has now lost three straight, and especially the last one was the most embarrassing one, where it's kind of like, why wasn't Alabama really contending in that game? Because from what we've seen over the past 3 weeks, it really is a completely different team, Jack.
Absolutely, and they really have that adversity to really push this teams to the next level. And it was a week one game, which some things happen in week one. You never know what teams are which.
Right.
So I think Mike Norvell really like prepared for that game
Mhm.
coming out of the off season,
Right.
but really couldn't get anything going against these other ACC teams. So it'll be interesting to see with Florida State. Yeah,
Right.
thing with
Right.
Alabama is this is only the fifth team in SEC history to defeat three ranked conference opponents in a 3 week span without a bye week.
Really.
So very impressive. This 3 week span. It shows that Alabama is absolutely that team still, and those
Mhm.
three teams are absolutely still the three one of the three best teams in the country. So it's very impressive.
Right. And it's hard to really rank them that high in the AP because of that loss. Because if you take away that loss, if they're just 5-0 and what they've done, like they're easily like they definitely be in contention for a top spot, no doubt. And even now they're creeping up to 6. Like, can you imagine how high they would be had they not had that loss? And also if they
Right.
were closer in the loss because they really didn't feel like they were in that game. And they were on the road at Florida State, but like this team's completely different where it's like you lose on the road at Florida State in an embarrassing fashion. And then a week or two later, Ryan Williams ends up going into concussion protocol. He's out for a little bit. And then in this Missouri game, he really did get neutralized. And honestly, Missouri took him out. He took him out. And it didn't matter because Ty Simpson really played spectacular. I mean, when your best receiver is neutralized like that, like Missouri really covered him well. But he was throwing to a bunch of different guys. I mean, he still had 200 yards, 3 touchdowns. Like Ty Simpson's
Mhm.
elite, Jack.
He really is, and I think he's getting more of respect that he deserves. But it definitely took a lot longer than it should, But this 3 week span
Mhm.
really shows how good Ty Simpson is as a quarterback, and I think he's absolutely probably the Heisman favorite now. Um, Dante Moore kind of struggled
Right,
in against the Hoosiers, so we'll see if he keeps it rolling with the Crimson Tide. So yeah,
right. He's been very spectacular and has kind of led Alabama out of the rough that was that week 1 loss. And Alabama really looks like a completely different team. And I think maybe you couldn't have said this a few weeks ago, but after this stretch, the way they handled it and the way they went into each of these games and was able to win, and some of them really controlled the game, I feel like you can definitely say that Alabama is not only in contention for the SEC title, but back to being, I know, a national championship contender.